Okay, am I audible to you all? You can use the chat box to give your answers. Okay, am I audible? Yes, we are going to start with a new chapter today, chapter 8, Cell, Structure and Function. Myself Milan Patil, and we are going to do the chapter from standard 8 class, okay, science topic. Okay, let's get begin. Let's see what are we going to learn in this particular chapter. Okay, let us see the key concept. So we are going to understand cell as the basic unit of life. We are going to see the discovery of cell, some history about how the cell was discovered. We are going to learn about the types of cell based on size and shape. Okay, we are going to understand the different types of cell based on their shape and size. We are going to also understand the different types of cell based on the number of cells as unicellular and multicellular. We are going to understand the types of cell based on the cell organelles as prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell. Then we are going to understand the cell structure, the main parts of the cell. Okay, so that is the cell membrane and protoplasm. And we are going to understand the different types of cell organelles. Okay, transport of the substance to the cell membrane, and we are going to understand different types of cell organelles. Okay, these are the subtopics in this particular lesson. So let's get begin. I have a question for you. What are living things made up of? Or what is cell? We say cell is called the basic structural and functional unit of life. But my question here for you is, what do you understand by the term cell? We say that cell is nothing but basic structural and functional unit of living organism. In other words, the cells makes up living things, and this help in carrying out different activities which are essential for the living organism to survive. Okay, now let us understand how living beings are made up of cells and why we call it the basic structural unit of life. Now let's see organization of living thing, how organism is made up of. We know that all the living things that you see in our surrounding, we classify or we put them in two main groups. One is animal category, other one is plant category. So depending on whether we take animal organism or plant organism, both are living organisms. So both these are made up of something called cell. Okay, so cell is nothing but basic structural and functional unit of life. So all the types of living things makes up of or made up of cell. So cell is called a basic structural and functional unit of life. Okay, let's see how the body is organized. Okay, we know that cells are, just as I told you, are called a basic unit of life. So this is a picture of a single cell. So when you group many cells together, we call it a tissue. What do we call? We call it a tissue. So this is a single cell. When I put many cells together, I will call it a tissue. Okay, this will be a tissue which makes up of different types of cells. Okay, many cells. When many tissues are put together, it forms a something called organ. Okay, so cell, the first basic structural unit, just like we have bricks making up the building. So when many bricks join to form a wall, okay, when many walls are formed, we get a room, a particular room of that particular house. So when many tissues are joined together, we form something called organ. And when many organs are joined together, we form something called organ system. Can you name any give examples of organ system that you already learned in your lower classes? Any one organ system? We have several human bodies made up of several organ systems. And what are these several organ systems? We have human digestive system, human circulatory system, human excretory system, nervous system. These are the different organ systems. What are the organs of digestive system? Can anyone recall your previous class, and can you tell me what are the different organs which makes the digestive system? What are the different organs of human digestive system? Or I will change my question. What are the different organs of respiratory system? We know that digestive system make up of mouth or a buccal cavity, then esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine and anus. These are the different organs of human's digestive system. Whereas what are the different organs of respiratory system? We have nostril, trachea and lungs and diaphragm. These are the different organs of human respiratory system. So for this organ system made up of different organs, and each of these organs help work together and perform a particular function. Yes. So what is the function of a human digestive system? Human digestive system help in digestion of food. So human digestive system, all the organs of these work together and it help in digestion of food. Whereas human respiratory system, we know that all these organs work together, help in process called respiration, utilization of the glucose, breakdown of glucose to get energy. So this is the work of the respiratory system. So this organ system, each of them have got specific function to do. Okay. So if imagine the cell was not there, we know that cell makes the tissue, tissue makes the organ makes the organ system. And if cell was not there, it would have been difficult for human body to have all these parts, isn't it? So cell is therefore called a functional unit of life. So it also helps in performing specific function. Okay, like the cells which are there in the lungs, alveoli, the basic function of them will be exchange of gases. So they perform this specific function of exchange of gases. Whereas the cells of the nervous system may be helpful in transferring the information. Okay, so nerve cells are going to help in transfer of information. So each cell perform a specific function. Therefore, cell is known as the functional unit of life. Functional unit means the part that help in performing a specific function. So that's what is it important. So as I have told you, cell is called a basic structural and functional unit of life. Basic structural, how? Just like we have the house. Okay, we have the house which is made up of different rooms. Each of this room will made up of different walls. Each of the walls will made up of bricks. So which brick is the basic structural unit of house. So it is the building block of the house, without which we were not able to construct a house. Of course you need a cement, of course you need sand for construction, but without this stones you may not be able to construct a wall. Similarly, cells are the basic structural unit of our body. So cell is the basic part of our body, which is therefore it is called a building block of our body. So let us see how now this cell are so tiny that you cannot see or you cannot observe this cell with your eyes, and you need a special device to observe this cell, and that special device is called microscope. What is microscope? In the previous chapter of microorganism, there also I have told you about microscope. What is microscope? You learn about microscope. It is a device that helps in viewing microscopic objects. Microscopic means very, very small objects which are not visible with our naked eye. So with the help of microscope, we can easily find out this. That is the invention of microscope. Okay, let us learn about this microscope, and with the invention of this microscope, it was possible for the microscopic world to be observed by this great scientist. Okay, in 1590, Zacharias Janssen and his father Hans, they have used a microscope which is made up of two lenses in a tube. Okay, they have used two lenses, mounted taken the two lenses in the tube, and that was called a first compound microscope. In 1609, Galileo Galilei, he has constructed a simple compound microscope using two types of lens, convex and concave lens. And actually in 1674, Anton van Leeuwenhoek, okay, Anton van Leeuwenhoek, he constructed an extremely simple instrument using the lens mounted on a tiny hole in a brass plate, and he has used this particular microscope for observing the microscopic world. And actually the credit goes to Anton van Leeuwenhoek for the discovery of the microscope. Okay, and this one is that scientist Anton van Leeuwenhoek. Okay, and with that discovery of microscope, we were able to see this microscopic world, a tiny organism, and including the cell, that lead to the discovery of cell. Now, discovery of cell, how the cell was discovered, the whole credit goes to a famous scientist called Robert Hooke. So this Robert Hooke, actually the credit of discovering cell goes to him. In 1665, he discovers cell. Now what did he do? And he first time used the term cell. You coined the term cell. Coin means he first time used that term cell during his discovery. Is a cell actually the Latin word, and in that Latin language, the cell word means little room. What's the meaning of the cell? Cell actually means a little room in Latin language. Okay. Now, how did he discover? We say that the discovery of cell, we give the credit to the scientist Robert Hooke. What did he do? Okay. He used a cork cell. Okay. The cork cells he used, and he has made a thin slices of the cork tissue. Now, what is cork? In the champagne bottles which is there, no, they use the bottle use this part of the wood to as a bottle cap. Okay, that wood is used. Cork is nothing but a, suppose this is a plant stem, and the outer region of that plant stem, that is called a cork. बायली जी खोड जी असता स्टेमाची तेका cork म्हणटा. And this cork is used to make the caps for the champagne bottles. Okay, so that cork he used. Actually, this part of the stem is a soft wood. What type of wood? A very soft wood. Okay, therefore this scientist, that is Robert Hooke, he used that cork. He made a thin slices of it using a blade. He made a very, very thin slices of it, very, very thin, and he tried to observe them under the microscope. And when he observed them under microscope, he saw honeycomb-like structures like this. Like this, he observed it under the microscope, something like this, like a honeycomb. There was various cells he observed. And what type of cell? A cork cell he observed. Okay, and that was giving the structure which was similar to the honey hive or honeycomb. And since it was many compartments were there, many small compartment or many little rooms were there, therefore he used the word, Latin word cell for this smaller compartment, and that's how he discovered the cell. Now there are different types of cells. Let us understand the different types of cells based on the shape and size. Okay, RBC, what is the shape of RBC? What type of cells these are? Actually, they are spherical cells, isn't it? Round shape or oval shape or round shaped cells. We have this column like cells. These are the epithelial cells. Okay, epithelial cell or the skin cells. Okay, these are column like a columns. Okay, one column, second column, like a cuboidal column. You can say also cuboid, a 3D shaped cuboid of mathematics, or cuboidal type of cell. Okay, we have the ovum cell, which is also a spherical in shape, round in shape. So we have the oval cell or the ovum cell. Okay, then this the shape of this muscle cell is spindle like. Okay, it's a spindle shaped cell. The muscle shape have spindle shape. A bone cell is the picture of a bone cell. Cell with this ending like this, like a root hair. Okay, so that's a bone cell. That's a picture of a sperm cell. That's the head having the pointed head and the narrow tail. That's the picture of a nerve cell. So each cell, depending on the shape, there are different types of cells. So some cells, especially spherical, so oval shape, like I already told you, you can put RBCs and ovum under this group. Some doesn't have a proper shape at all. We know that amoeba comes into that group. Also WBC. What is WBC? What is the full form of WBC? Yes, that's a white blood cell, isn't it? So white blood cell is also doesn't have a proper shape. So it is also irregular. Then we have cylindrical or spindle shaped cell, that is a muscle cell. So muscle cells have got a special shape called spindle shape. And the nerve cells are long branch shape. Okay, long branch. So this shape of the cell depends on the function of this cell. So what is the function of the cell? Depending on that, you may have different shapes for the cell. For example, a nerve cell is long like this with a branch. So it has to carry the signal from that region to the brain. Okay, the function of the nerve cell is to transfer of information from that region to the brain. So therefore it is long and branch in shape. So we have the different types of cell, first category based on the shape and size. Now let us understand the next category of the cell, that is based on the again size. Okay, that was based on shape. Now based on the size, we have different size. Okay, let's understand. The smallest cell is a bacterial cell that you can see in this picture. A small cell, very tiny one, 0.1 to 0.5 micrometer. I have told you about micrometer in my previous class, microorganism. There we have learned about micrometer. 1 micrometer means how much? 1 upon 1000. How much is 1 micrometer? 1 divided by 1000. So how much zeros it will be? How many zeros it should have? कितने zero असतले 1 micrometer रन? How many zeros will be there in 1 micrometer? How many zeros will be there? Yes, it will be what? What it will be? 0.000001, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4 places. Okay, so it will be 0.001. Such a tiny one. Okay, so small bacterial cell. Then we have the longest cell. Which is the longest cell? It is a nerve cell. It is 0.1 to 1 meter. 1 meter means how many centimeter? 1 meter means 100 centimeter. Isn't it? Such a long nerve cells are there in our body. Then what is the largest cell? The credit of largest cell goes to credit of being the largest cell goes to the egg of an ostrich. Okay, let us compare the egg of an ostrich egg. Okay, That's the picture I have for comparison. I have put that's the egg of a hen. Okay, this is the egg of a hen, and to that comparison size of that ostrich is such a big one. See, so the size of the egg of an ostrich is 170 to 135 millimeter. Okay, so such a big one. Okay, the ostrich cell is the largest. So smallest we have the bacterial cell, longest we have the nerve cell, and the largest we have the egg of a ostrich. Okay, let's see the small size of the cells in human body. Okay, the smallest cells in human body is sperm cell. Which is the smallest cell? That smallest cell that is the microbial cell, that is the that bacterial cell which I have given an example of, which is having a very tiny one, that bacteria, that one is a general smallest one. But in the human body we have the sperm cell, which is the small, and what is the size of the sperm cell? 5 micrometer. How much is 1 micrometer? I told you 0.0001. And how much will be 5 micrometer means kitla? 5 micrometer means how much? Okay, what is the one minus 0.0005, isn't it? So 0005. So it is so small. Largest cell in the human body is the ovum or the egg cell. And what is the size of that? It is 120 micrometer. It is comparatively bigger than the sperm cell. And the longest cell in the human body is the nerve cell. As I told you, the size is 1 meter. So we have the different types of cells based on the size. Now let us try to understand different types of cells based on number of cells. Number of cells also determine the different types of cells. So based on the number of cells, we have the first category as unicellular organism. Unicellular organism. What do you mean by the term unicellular? Uni means what? One or single. What is uni? One or single. So organisms which are made up of one or single cell, they are termed as unicellular organisms. Examples? Can you give examples other than this which I have put here? I have given example of euglena, paramecium and yeast. These are few unicellular organisms. But in your microorganism chapter, you have learned about so many organisms which are unicellular. Can you give more examples about unicellular organisms? Yes, bacteria is a unicellular organism. Okay, what else? What else? More examples I want. Organisms which are made up of one cell. Yes. Bacteria is done. What else? I've given one. Some algae. Can you give an example of a specific algae which was unicellular? We have learned about unicellular and multicellular algae there. Isn't it? What about amoeba? Amoeba is also unicellular. You are not giving me example. This amoeba you learn about it right from 7th standard. You are learning about it. So you learn about amoeba, diatoms, algae are there. That Volvox algae is there. Okay, all these are unicellular organism. Okay, unicellular organism which are made up of one or single cell. Okay, now let us understand types of organism. We have the second category called multicellular organism. So what are multicellular organisms? Organisms which are made up of more than one cell. So these multi means many. Okay, what's the meaning of multi? Many. So those organisms which are made up of many cells, more than one cell, we term them as multicellular. So we have plant, all the types of plant come into this group, animals comes into this group, and the fungus also come into this group. Since we know that fungus, I have kept it separate because it is neither a plant nor an animal. you are going to learn about fungus and its category in your higher classes, where you are going to place whether it's a plant or an animal, you are going to learn it in higher classes. For time being, let us see plants, animal and fungus. There are some plants which are microscopic plant, but those are also multicellular. Can you name microscopic plant which are multicellular? Microscopic means you cannot see with your eyes, but those are multicellular. Basically algae, right? Yes, algae comes under this group. What type of algae now? Multicellular algae, Spirogyra. Yes, so Spirogyra will be a multicellular algae which will come under this group of microscopic plant. Okay, so multicellular organism under microscope. Now in this picture you can see the plant cell under the microscope. This is a leaf cell, structure of a leaf cell. So what is the shape of the leaf cell? Look at the shape. What type of shape is this particular cells having? Look at the counter side. Yes, it is having 6 sides. So basically this shape is hexagon. What is the shape of this particular cell? A hexagon shape. What about the muscle cells? This is a picture of a muscle cell. Okay, what type of shape a muscle cell has? We have learned about it having spindle shape, right? Spindle shape. But now if you look at the transverse section of it, transverse section, you will see this muscle cells doesn't have a proper shape. It is again a irregular in shape. Okay. So these are the some of the multicellular organism, how they look in under the microscope. We have the third category based on cell organelles. Based on cell organelles, we categorize the cell as prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell. Let me explain you what do you mean by the term prokaryotic cell. Prokaryotic cells, pro and karyot. So pro means older or primitive cell. So pro means older or primitive cell, older cell. Eukaryotic or the recent one, pro and karyotic. So pro is primitive, means word comes from the word pro, which means primitive cell, and means eukaryotic, means the latest types of cell. Okay, the latest version of the cell. So let us understand each of these. U means, actually the word U means true. What is the meaning of that word? True. Okay. Now karyons, the word karyon. Karyon means nucleus. Okay. So the cell which have the primitive or old nucleus is called prokaryotic cell. The cell which have the true nucleus, real nucleus, is termed as eukaryotic cell. Let us understand first the size of this. These prokaryotic cells are very, very small, generally microscopic. The organism which prokaryotic cells will have the very, very tiny organism. Basically all organisms were microscopic. Most of the microscopic organism will come into this group. The size is 1 to 10 micrometer in diameter. Eukaryotic cell, those organisms which contain eukaryotic cells, the size will be comparatively larger, 500 to 100 micrometer. In this primitive or old cell, nucleus is absent. Suppose I say the cell basic part, cell contains the cell membrane, the nucleus, okay, and there will be the cytoplasm. These are the basic part of a cell. These three things should be there. So the cell membrane should be there for a cell. Okay, outer covering, we are going to understand it, these parts in detail. The cell nucleus will be there, and there will be a transparent jelly-like substance which will be cytoplasm. These three things should be there in a cell. That means we will call it that structure as cell. But in this prokaryotic older cell, nucleus have a one additional layer, and that layer of the nucleus membrane is not there. Nuclear membrane is absent. Whereas in eukaryotic cell, nuclear membrane is present. In case of prokaryotic cell, there is no true nucleus, there is no nucleus, but this will contain nucleus like structures. See this, they contain nucleus like structures here, but that's not a nucleus at all. Nucleus is not there. Only nucleoid will be there, some part of the nucleus will be there. Then this certain organelles that like mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi body, these will be absent in these older types of cell. Whereas this eukaryotic cell contain all these organelles, that is mitochondria is present, endoplasmic, all this I am going to explain you, okay. When I am explaining the cell structure, that time I will explain you this different types of organelle which are the parts of the cell. We are going to learn about it in the later class, okay. That time I will explain you. But these organelles are absent in prokaryotic, whereas all these are present in eukaryotic. And this genetic information which is present in prokaryotic is a single chromosome, just a single thread structure, whereas it contains many more than one chromosome in the particular nucleus. We are going to understand these two types of cell in detail at the end of the chapter. Also, once I finish explaining all the different types of cell organelles and cell structure, then we will compare again prokaryotic and eukaryotic. For time being, let us see the third category of classifying the cell based on the organelle is pro and eukaryotic. Pro means older type of cell, old one, primitive one, and eukaryotic means the latest organism. Okay, when you are going to learn about evolution theories, how the organism have evolved from single cell, like there are many theories how the life have started on earth, earथाचे life कशी start झाली, हे जे खूपशे theories आसा. Okay, तितूंतले मागीर तुम्ही evolution theories learn करतले in the 9th standard when you go. That time you will see the starting organism जे आशिल्ले earthाचे, that was microscopic organism which were very tiny one. And which type of microorganism? That's the primitive one, older one. That is those organisms like bacteria. Examples कोण येता हितून? Examples are bacteria. Okay, bacteria cells are mostly they are prokaryotic cells. Okay, few of these examples here. Okay, and certain blue-green algae also. So that also comes under prokaryotic cell. And eukaryotic examples कोण? Eukaryotic example other than these two all. You can write the examples of animals, plants, Spirogyra, all these will be coming under eukaryotic cell. That's a general introduction about the cell. Have you understood all these parts? So there are three types of cell based on first shape and size, then there were number of cells. Okay, based on shape and size we have different types of cells. Based on the number of cells of unicellular and multicellular, and based on the cell organelle as prokaryotic and eukaryotic. Now we are coming back to a very important part. Okay, very important part of the lesson, that is the structure of cell. What is it? The structure of cell. Now let us understand the parts. Structure means the different parts that makes up the cell. Okay, different parts that comprises a cell. So cell consists of two main parts or two main structure, two main parts. What are the two main parts? Just like we have plants made up of several parts, roots, stem, this leaves, flower and fruit. The cell comprises of two main parts. One is the outer covering of the cell called cell membrane, and one is the inner content called protoplasm. Suppose I have cell, this is a picture of a cell, and this inside this nucleus, okay, this nucleus, the outer covering of that cell, outer envelope, we call it the cell membrane. What do we call it? We call it the cell membrane. This jelly-like substance which is present in the cell is the cytoplasm. I will explain all this term. Don't worry about the terms. I will explain you in detail. And the central part is the nucleus. Both this nucleus and cytoplasm together we call it the protoplasm. What do we call it? Protoplasm. That is cytoplasm and nucleus. Now what does cytoplasm contain? Cytoplasm contains several cell organelles and cell inclusion. So we are going to, this is the overview of the cell structure. This is an overview of the cell structure. So we will understand this cell structure in details. Okay, let us understand. Now to understand the structure of a cell, what do you need? You need a device which will help you to view these cells under microscope, isn't it? So you are going to use a microscope for this, and this microscope is going to help us in viewing this structure. So details of the cell structure can be seen under compound microscope and under electron microscope. So what is the magnification power of a compound microscope? It can zoom up to 2000 times. How many times? 2000 times. Whereas an electron microscope can zoom up to how many times? See the number of zeros. Okay, 0 up to 5 lakh times. So this electron microscope is the latest microscope which will help us to see each every details of the cell. So let me take you to this journey of this cell and let us try to understand these structures. Okay, let us understand the first part, that is the cell membrane or the plasma membrane. Okay, now I have put a picture of a house here. Okay, house is there. Okay, this picture is of a house. Now we know that houses are made up of walls, right? So there are walls on the house. So imagine if there were no walls. So the boundary of the house, we call it the wall. Okay, the walls of the house. So if there are no walls for this particular house, what will happen? What will happen if these walls are not there? What do you think? What will happen? You can use chat box to your answers, because I have seen you are not responding. Yeah, so what do you think? If there are no walls, what will happen? Yes, during rainy time, the rainwater will enter the house. During summer season, we are going to feel it very, very hot. During cold season, we are going to feel it very cold, isn't it? So all these things we are going to experience. The house will be just there for the namesake with only the roof, and the walls actually protect our house from this extreme climatic condition, isn't it? So these walls are very, very important. These walls help and protect our house from extreme climatic condition like cold, then summer season, then rainy season. Similarly, a cell has an outer boundary that protects the cell from this extreme climatic condition. That is, what is it? What is it called? What do we call the boundary of the cell? A cell membrane. It is also called cell envelope. What is the another name for it? It is also called cell envelope. Cell envelope is nothing but cell membrane. It is also called a plasma membrane. Yes, it is also called plasma membrane. Yes, very nice. Vignesh has said anybody can come in and out of the cell if there is no wall. So walls are very, very important to restrict the entry of the people coming into the house. So similarly, cell membrane is that important. Okay, cell membrane. For let us try to understand the structure. So the outer covering of the cell is called a cell membrane. Okay, then what is the function of this? It encloses protoplasm. What does it enclose? Protoplasm means inside the cell there is nucleus. Okay, inside the cell there is this nucleus, and along with the nucleus there is this jelly-like substance which is their cytoplasm. Okay, so both this cytoplasm and nucleus, make up something called protoplasm. Okay, protoplasm. So this protoplasm is there inside. Everything is there inside the cell membrane. Oh, it encloses everything. Then the thickness is, what is the thickness? What is the size? The thickness is less than 0.001 micrometer. Okay, it is less than, you can say, 1 micrometer. Okay, that is 0.001, less than 0.001 micrometer. It is so small, very, 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 very thin structure. Okay, just the boundary. Okay, have you seen a egg? Egg. Okay, those for vegetarian people also. Have you seen egg? Eggaच्या भायलो कवर जो असता egg. Okay, it is a white cover असता, okay, egg, and inside the egg, okay, you have a transparent layer, membrane, okay, transparent एक structure असता, that transparent structure, have you seen? आणि ताच्या भितर मागीर तो egg white असता आणि त्याच्या भितर मागीर egg yolk असता, white transparent part जो liquid असता तो, okay, transparent liquid, that is egg white म्हणटा आमी तेका, okay, and that yellow color part which is a ball like structure, egg yolk, okay, eggaचो yolk, okay. So the biological region असता, outer region which is a transparent layer कहो जो असता, transparent bag, like a transparent plastic bag acha bishon structure, that one is the cell membrane. What is it? Cell membrane. Whereas that transparent layer which is there, transparent egg white je asa bita liquid, that we call it's the cytoplasm, like a cytoplasm of the cell. What is it? Cytoplasm. And egg yolk jo asa, it is like a nucleus. So whenever I talk about cell, you will imagine a egg, okay? Okay, whenever I talk about a egg, cell, you will imagine a egg. Okay, egg, as since I have told you, egg is also a type of cell, right? In the previous we have seen the largest egg was the ostrich egg, which is the egg you can see with the cells which you can see with your eyes. Okay, so we will for time being, since many of you must have seen the eggs of the hen, I will consider the hen egg, which is again a cell. So the membrane which is present inside, not the white part, okay, bhailache katte asa te nahi, okay, not that, okay, inside there is another thin transparent membrane, that is a egg, that membrane is called a cell membrane, and that's inside the cell membrane you have the white of the egg, that is a actually it is egg white because it turns white when you boil the egg, that's why it is called the egg white, which is actually transparent in color, and there is a egg yolk which is the nucleus. Now this membrane or cell membrane, there are these pores or the channels or the openings, okay, through which substances will come inside and outside, just like the walls of the house will have door, right? Now there has to be a place, suppose an entire house is made up of only walls and there is no entry and exit point, will the people will able to go inside, or will the people who are there inside, will they able to come out? Definitely no, right? So a house is incomplete without a door. Similarly, this cell membrane have pores or opening through which the substances will go inside and outside the cell. So the important substance is going to enter the cell, the waste product are going to go outside the cell. So these openings are so important. So where are these openings present? Again in the cell membrane only, just like the walls only will have the door for the entry and exit of the people inside and outside the house. Similarly, cell membrane contain pores which help in entry of substances inside and outside the cell. Okay, so this layer is made up of bilayers of phospholipid. Okay, these are lipid, this head is there like this. So these are the lipids layer, fat layers. So it has a head region and a tail region. So the head regions are arranged outside, tail regions are arranged inside, and this way it forms a two layers of lipids. So lipids one layer, lipid two layer. So therefore phosphobilipid, okay, phospholipid layer. So phosphobilipid layer, okay, bilipid layer. So the cell membrane actually made up of lipid bilayers or two layers of phospholipids. What does else it contain? Along with lipid, it contains certain types of protein, certain type of carbohydrate, and some water as well. Okay, so this cell membrane which is there, which is also made up of certain types of protein along with lipid, some carbohydrates, and some water will be there, which makes up this cell membrane. Just like we need stones for the construction of walls, right? For the construction of walls of a house, we need bricks, we need cement, we need sand. These are the basic essential things for the construction of house. Similarly, the cell membranes along with the lipid layer, lipids, it contain proteins, carbohydrates and water as well. Okay, let us understand the function. As I have already told you, it separates the inner content from the cell from outside environment. Just like these walls of the house, it separates the house environment. So this is outside environment, that's how this is inside environment. So just like it separate the environment, okay, from outside and inside, this cell membrane also separate the content of the cell from its surrounding. Okay, and what else is the function? It protect the inner content. Not only it separate, the second function is it protect, just like the walls of the house protect the house from the extreme climatic conditions. Similarly, cell membrane also protect the inner content. This membrane protect the inner content of the cells. Okay, and as I have already told you, this cell membrane contain pores. What is there? Pores are there. Pores, what can you compare the pores with? Just like the door are there on the walls. Yes, so these pores are nothing but like a door. Okay, so this door, only through this door only the people known to the house will enter, right? Because the member of the house will have the key of this door, isn't it? Then only they will able to open the door and they will able to enter the house. Any outsider, any stranger can enter your house? Any stranger can enter your house? Definitely no, right? Whenever a stranger comes, we will try to block the stranger at the door only. We will try to ask several questions to the stranger. What is his name? Why he has come? What is the reason for coming? And if that person knows any member of the house, then we are going to call that member. If that person recognize, okay, this one is my friend, now you can enter, then only it's going to allow you to enter the house, right? Similarly, the cell membrane, these pores which are there, they are called selectively permeable. What do you mean by selectively permeable? They are going to select who is going to go inside and who is going to come out. So therefore it is called selectively permeable membrane. Selectively permeable membrane means who is going to enter the inside the cell and who is going to go outside the cell. Okay, okay. So what are the who is going to come inside the cell and who is going to go outside the cell is going to control by whom? Who is going to control the cell? Okay, who is going to control the cell? Yes, it is the pores which are present on the cell membrane. They are going to control. They are going to control this, isn't it? So who is controlling? Who is controlling the cell? Okay, so who is controlling the substances entry? The pores which are present on this cell membrane, they are going to control. And that's how, what are they called? What do we call this cell membrane? We call this cell membrane as selectively permeable membrane. Okay, so that's the first component or the first part of the cell. Okay, apart from that, the cell contains cell wall. Okay, now cell walls are not present in all the types of cells. Okay, the cell wall is a additional covering. Okay, additional covering in plant cell. Which types of cell? Which types of cell? Plant cell. So this plant cell will contain a additional covering, and that additional covering is cell wall. Suppose this is a cell. Okay, suppose this I am saying this is a cell. Okay, this is a cell membrane. So then the plant cell, no, this plant cell, it will have additional covering. Okay, additional layer. Okay, this additional layer which is there, this additional protection which protects, it is called a cell wall. What is it called? Cell wall. Just like a house may have a compound wall. May have a compound wall. All of your houses have compound wall. सगळ्यांच्याच घरा compound wall असतात आहे ना. All of your houses all the students of my class, you have house, definitely houses, but all of your houses, do it have a compound wall? Not necessary, right? Some of our houses may have compound wall, some of your houses may not have compound wall. So this additional compound wall actually like an additional protection for the house, isn't it? So that suppose any person comes, we can restrict that person, we can make that person stop at the gate. So we can stop that person at the gate only, and we can ask that who is that one, why does it coming to the house. So this additional layer which is present in the plant cell, what do we call that additional layer? Cell wall. Do the animal cell have cell wall? The cell wall is not present in animal. Okay, this is not present in animal. No, it is not present. So it is absent in animal. Why it is present only in plant cell? Why not animal cell? That I will explain you little later. Okay, so outermost layer or the outermost covering in plant cell, certain algae and certain fungi also contain this cell wall, and this layer is called a cell wall. It is outside the cell membrane. So that layer which is outside the cell wall membrane is called a cell wall. So the outermost layer will be cell wall, the second layer will be the cell membrane, and further it will contain all the other parts. Okay, cell will be there, nucleus will be there, cytoplasm will be there, other cell organelles will be there. Okay, so all these parts will be there inside the cells. Okay, so all these parts will be present inside the cell. So outermost layer which is present in the plant is, I have told you, it is called a cell wall. Now it is very hard and rigid structure. What type of structure it is? Hard and rigid, unlike cell membranes also, which is a very transparent thin layer. This one has a very hard structure, a rigid structure. It is actually there for protection. Now this additional layer is why it is hard, why it is rigid, because the main function of this cell wall is protection to the plant. Now why do you think only plant cell need protection? Do you think only plant need protection? Human beings or other animals, they don't need protection? What is the reason? Why do you think only plant need additional protection? Why it is absent in animal cell? One reason is major difference between the plant and animals. What is the major difference? What is the major difference between plant? Yes, plants cannot perform locomotion, whereas animals can perform locomotion. What do you mean by locomotion? Locomotion means movement of the organism from one place to other place. Simply they walk, isn't it? So suppose if it is raining outside, what we will do? Suppose we don't carry umbrella, we will try to protect our body, we will try to seek a shelter, we will try to search a place wherein we are going to protect ourselves during this rainy season, or we may be stand under the tree so that we are going to protect our body. Basically animals can protect themselves from this extreme climatic condition. Okay, if it is raining outside, if it is a very hot summer season, if it is very cold winter season, we can protect our body. But since plants cannot perform locomotion, they don't move from one region to another, therefore to protect the plant body from this extreme climatic condition, there is another additional layer. And what is the name of this additional layer? It is a cell wall. This cell wall is fully permeable. What is meant by fully permeable? It is going to allow the substances to enter the cell without any restriction. All kind of substances can go inside, all kind of substances can come outside. Okay, कोणी भीतर घुसू शकता, कोणी बाहेर येऊ शकता. Okay, it is the function of this cell wall. This cell wall is made up of now polysaccharide and cellulose. So it's made up of polysaccharide and cellulose. So cellulose and polysaccharide actually makes the cell wall. So what is the cell wall made up of? Cell wall is made up of polysaccharide and cellulose. A cellulose which is a type of carbohydrate. Now since I already told you the function, let us summarize the function of the cell wall. Just like I have told you, the compound wall is an additional layer which is going to it is additional wall which is going to protect our house from different climatic conditions, okay, entry. So the cell wall also not only protect the plant from external physical injuries, but it also give a definite shape and size to the cell. Therefore the plant's shape is rigid shape. So plant have a rigid shape, a hard shape, which is not a flexible shape. They don't have the flexible body. So plant don't have this flexible body, is not there. They have a hard and rigid definite shape, and this hard, rigid and definite shape is due to the presence of cell wall. So cell wall gives the rigid definite shape to the plant, definite size to the plant, and rigidity. Rigidity means strength. It gives strength to the plant. So it also protects from physical injury, and together with vacuole and other structures which are present, it makes the skeletal support. So what's the mean by skeletal support? We have learned about skeletal system in standard 6. So skeletal system help us in maintaining the shape of the body, isn't it? So just like a skeleton which is there in the organism or animal, which help to maintain the shape of the organism, similarly the cell wall which is there in the plant cell, it helps them to maintain their skeletal structure or the shape of the body. It also, I have told you, fully permeable. Fully permeable means it allows the substances to come inside the cell. Okay, direct रूपक entry देता. There is no restriction for substances. So substances come in and they can go out. So that's the meaning of fully permeable. Okay, with that we have finished with today's session. We have started with cell lesson. Okay, I have introduced the cell lesson. Let us summarize. We have learned about cell, structure and function. Cell, structure and function. Okay, so under this, what do we have started? We have started about what is cell. We have learned about discovery of cell. We have understood how the cell was discovered by Robert Hooke. Then we have learned about different types of cells based on shapes and size, or based on number of cells, and based on the cell organelles. So we have prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell, unicellular and multicellular cell, and different depending on the shape and size we have different types of cell. And we have started with cell structure, and we have learned about one cell structure, one part of the cell, that is what we have learned about cell membrane. This cell membrane is present in all types of cell, whether you talk about plant or animal, it is present in both. Whereas we have learned about one additional layer which is there only in plant cell, and that is about cell wall. Okay, any difficulty, any doubt? We are going to continue with our class with this chapter in our next class. Thank you, students.